Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for jumping in here. This is Jason going live on my eBay and Poshmark orders. Sorry, I'm going to get this band off here in just a second. But real quick, just want to say thanks for jumping in here and watching. I've got 16 orders to ship out today from this weekend, and I hope you had a great weekend. So while you're popping in here, let's fix this because that's annoying. That is really annoying. We're going to take that down a little bit. I'm not sure why that light is putting that weird glare on there. It's better, but still weird. That's much better. So clear. Okay. Let's fix that. Sorry, I typically do this before, but just forgetting things. It's Monday morning. And of course, sometimes Monday starts off, it hits you hard. Had a couple of days off and trying to get back into the swing of things. And Mondays are always busy for people, right? 16 orders, 13 on eBay, 3 on Poshmark. No, 4 on Poshmark. So I'm going to be shipping those out. Nothing like crazy today. No like crazy shipments or anything. All pretty straightforward. Slide in a poly mailer and it's good to go. So I hope you had a great weekend. If you did, let me know that in the chat. If you didn't, that's okay. Let me know why. Did you get into anything fun? Do anything exciting this weekend? How are sales? We're 17 days away from Christmas. And so that means, if you're thinking what I'm thinking, we have about a week to 10 days left to make a sale. 10 days, maybe even pushing it. You've got about a week left to make sales for Christmas. Is it Jason or Jesus? Like the thumbnail pic. Good morning, Chemo. Yeah, I recently updated my YouTube picture. And if you can't tell, it's cold in here, so I'm wearing a jacket. All right. So I got a return request that's going to come in here this morning. I just responded to him this morning in a message, so I'm waiting for him to fill that out. I'll get into that in just a second, as well as biggest, smallest, fastest, slowest orders that I've got going out, and my personal fave from this weekend. So I'm going to be sharing all of that with you. Last sip of the smoothie here. All right. Make sure I got nothing in my beard. We are good to go. So I want to remind you, if you haven't heard, if it's overkill, sorry, but not sorry. This week on Thursday at 7:30 Eastern, I'm going to be going live with Carol Ann Olson. She is a tax professional in the reseller community. She works with a lot of resellers, both full-time and part-time, to help them with their taxes. So if you'd like to join that discussion this Thursday at 7:30 Eastern, I've already got that event on my YouTube channel. You can go on and click notify me so that when we do go live, you're notified and you can jump right in. You don't have to try and set reminders. It will automatically notify you. So that is always, I've done this once with Carol Ann, once or twice, maybe once. It's always fun to connect with her because she's super knowledgeable about taxes. And more than that, she loves to pass down what she knows and equip other resellers so that they can get the most out of their taxes. So that should be a fun discussion. And of course, the more people that pop in there with their questions that you may have about your business, what credits or deductions you can get, how to set your business up for the future based on your goals. Those are all great things that Carol Ann would love to discuss and fill you in on. So plan on joining us if that interests you and you're available this Thursday, December 11th at 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. Okay, let's jump into our Poshmark orders here. It's going to be a fun discussion. Slow weekend for me, 16 or 17 total orders going out, which is not great. Average of 5 a day for a full-time reseller is not great, but I do have other forms of income, which helps. typically I want to be in that 25 to 35 unit range for the weekend. So we're going to get back up to that because I have only been listing about 5 a day. So when you list about 5 a day, you make about 5 sales a day. So we're going to get that back up here shortly. I'm about to get back into the listing rhythm. This first item going out was a brand new Polo Ralph Lauren quarter zip sweater with a cool like gray and striped pattern. Went for $55 on Poshmark. I don't know if that's going to fit in here. No, we're not going to shove it in. Just use my own poly mailer for this one. So a quiet weekend, that happens every once in a while. And yeah, you still have to get up on Monday morning and ship out items and keep listing. I mean, you got to still keep the business going forward, even as hard as it is to get motivated when you've had a few slow days. Barry and Sue, thanks for popping in on Facebook. Sue asks or says, just a suggestion, I add a donations tab and a losses tab to the spreadsheet. Okay. I can understand the donation tab. What kind of losses are you putting on that tab? I do recommend, a lot of people have reached out and said like, hey, if I donate items on the spreadsheet, how do I account for that? And that's exactly what I've suggested is just create like a separate tab and then just log. You can copy and paste in your inventory items that you donated and it will have the cost in there if you filled out the cost. And then your accountant will know what to do with that. Chemo says, keep on trucking. That's actually, that's absolutely right. You got to keep on trucking. Especially if you're full-time and you rely on this as income, you can't let it bring you down. You got to keep listing. All right. Kimberly, what's going on? Yeah, so for losses, I mean, do you mean like when an item is broken in the mail and you just refund? What other losses are you thinking of, Sue? I want to make sure I understand that. Good morning, Josephine. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Okay, yeah. So losses, she says on Facebook, losses as if I break something or bought something that I didn't see the spots or tears. And I'm reading these out loud just because I'm also streaming on YouTube who can't see these questions and great comments. So yeah, I mean, if you break something, the loss is the amount that you paid for that item. So if you're recording that on the spreadsheet as an expense, you've already kind of accounted for that loss. So if you bought a $5 vase, you take it home, it broke, you paid $5, that actually went into the expense tab as a cost of goods in that final receipt. So when you take the loss is just $5. So you've already accounted for it. So you don't really have to account for those losses where something breaks or an item is flawed. Obviously, if you're donating an item, you would want to account for that. Not much, wonky, cold weather. Yeah, cold here too, as you can see by my jacket. Of course, always consult with a tax professional. I try and help people fill out the spreadsheet, but I am not a tax professional. So you want to make sure that you're talking to tax professionals so that if I give you advice that maybe isn't the best for you, that tax professional can share that with you and get you pointed in the right direction. Next up on Poshmark, that's not next. This is next. Check out these shorts. Look at that for $4 paid. This was my favorite sale of the weekend. You can't, yeah, actually you can see the tag right there. Jams World, vintage, very vintage. I wasn't sure if this was 80s or 90s, so I just put both in the title. Let the buyer decide what they want. But this was a really cool pair of like athletic shorts. I picked up for $4 and sold on a best offer of $25. Picked up a few pairs of vintage shorts on this particular haul. Going to Oceanside, California, a place that I have been to. Really fun place to visit. Robert says 20 orders for me this weekend. Now I'm done until January. Robert, you got me beat. Significantly got me beat. Congrats on a big weekend. So $5 fee on Poshmark. It leaves me with $20. I paid $16 profit within 2 or 3 months of listing that item. So those, again, if you were just jumping in, vintage Jams World shorts. All right. I'm going to ship out the rest of these Poshmark orders, and then we'll take a break before I jump into eBay, and I'll talk about a buyer return request that I'm going to get here pretty soon. I just messaged the buyer before this based on the message they sent, and I'll explain that situation because it's always fun to kind of break down the nuance of reselling. Aside from just like, here's an item, here's what I sold it for, here's the profit. It's fun to hear how people handle things, and not that there's obviously not one way to do it, but I'll share with you the way that I do it. Stephanie says, slow weekend for me on eBay as well. Yeah, Robert, that's great. First time you did 20 on one weekend. That's amazing. You got bigger steps and bigger milestones ahead of you, but that's a great thing to celebrate today. So congrats on that. Next up, I picked up like 3 of these at TJ Maxx for I think $5 to $7 a piece. This sold for $25 on Poshmark. And this is like, I love finding these Nike, like veteran military style gear, whether it's shirts or coats or jackets, things like that. This was just a regular t-shirt. It's got the Razorback on the front there. So $25 on Poshmark. They weren't great sizes, and that was actually the first one to sell. So I still have 1 or 2 left. We all got to remember Chemo's message, keep on trucking. That's funny. It's going to Tawnytown, Arkansas, which is like down the road from me. Tawnytown is like 20 minutes away. No surprise. I'm in Arkansas. It's an Arkansas item. But I always have that like initial shock when I see an item going just down the road. Down the road or up the road? What do you call it? Is it going down the road or is it going up the road? What do you say? All right. My last item on Poshmark came in. It was my first sale this morning. I got to clear the deck here because it was a really good, nice sale. And now we got to package up. Picked up not too long ago this men's suit. They had it for $12. It was brand new. The brand is Stafford. Listed on 11/11, so Veterans Day. Sold within less than a month. This kind of like cream ivory colored men's suit was the size 50 regular. Stafford retails for, well, actually I should say, it says the pants retail for $80. I sold this for $72. I don't know how much the jacket retails for, or if that's the whole thing. I would doubt that's the whole thing. Typically with suits like this, like these department store suits, they price at like a couple $100. I had one go 10 minutes from my house. LOL, crazy. Yeah, that is crazy. This has happened actually 2 or 3 times where I have shipped 2 different packages to the same town on the same day, not in Arkansas, like across the country, across the US. It goes to the same city or same town. And that's happened like 2 or 3 times. It hasn't happened in a while. But I remember when I saw that happening, I was like, let's see how far apart these are. And both buyers were like 1.5 miles from one another. It was just wild how that happens sometimes. All right, so Stafford's not a great brand, and I don't pick up Stafford suits like this. The only reason why I got it, it was $12 and it was brand new. That's pretty much it. And obviously a great size on the 50 regular, 42 by 32 on the pants. All right. And the great news with it selling on Poshmark this morning is it's not coming back because no returns. So the buyer can't wear this, and obviously with a new suit, they're not going to wear it and return it. without the tags. But I do wonder how often that happens where buyers buy a used suit or used blazer and then send it back after they've worn it. Okay. What was, while I'm folding this up, what was your big sale this weekend? What was your big sale? So I'm going to put this in a poly mailer and then put this in a box just because it's a light colored suit, brand new. I want to make sure it gets taken care of. My biggest sale I haven't shown you yet. Get to that in a second. Came on eBay. Clay asks, are those new shoes or used shoes in the background? If used, how do you decide to pick them up to sell? It's a mixture. I've got some new and some used, so both in there. I'm always looking at sold comps. I'm looking at sold comps mainly. That dictates like what am I going to get for it, and I'm also looking at turn time. How quickly can I sell those shoes? And by sold comps, I mean eBay's sold comps. I think I have a box down here. This would be perfect for it. I don't know about you all, but I have got a lot to do this morning. It's going to be one of those weeks where it's kind of a weird week. So I got to take the car in tomorrow, get the oil changed. I'm actually doing a Facebook survey this week. I'm getting paid like some money to give my thoughts on Facebook. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, of course, I've got that live that I'm preparing for as well. Spin this down a little bit. So I'm putting this in a box just to protect it a little better. Inventing words on this live. Okay. So with Poshmark, you've got up to 5 pounds. So you can use any box, any poly mailer, any supplies you want, as long as it doesn't exceed 5 pounds. And this with the box and the suit and everything is 3.5. So we're good there. Josephine says the latest sale I made, my 4th sale since I started, is a brand new shoes with a box. So my biggest sale also bought it for 55, sold it for 100 on eBay. Cool. What kind of shoes are those, Josephine? It's a great sale. They like athletic shoes or like dress shoes. Just got a sale on buyer accepted an offer on eBay for $23 on an item that I was kind of going back and forth with them last night. So I'm glad they came back and bought it. I held my ground at 23 and they finally took it. All right, so that's all my Poshmark. I'm going to tell a story and then ask for your feedback on the story about a return request that I'm going to get. So last night, Well, I'll go back. I sold a pair of jeans, brand new with tags. The tags said 36 by 30, pair of men's jeans. Um, the actual measurements were 40 by 30. So in the title, I put actual 40 by 30. Of course, it had a picture of the tags that showed 36 by 30. And in the description, it says pants measure 40 by 30. So buyer gets the jeans like this past weekend, sends a message and says, "This is not what I ordered. I ordered 40 by 30. These are 36 by 30." And I said, "Hey, this happens all the time for some reason. Even though I tell people it's not what it, anyways, doesn't matter. So happens more than you would think, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't happen. Anyways, doesn't matter. I'm getting caught in the weeds here. So I responded to the buyer and just said, "Hey, did you try them on? Because they actually measure 40 by 30. The measurements in the title are the correct measurements." And he came back and said, like a day later, basically, I have a few pairs of or I have another pair of these, and they're 40 by 30, and these absolutely are not, they don't fit like the 40 by 30. They're too tight or whatever. So he was like, "I want to return these for a refund." So this morning I sent him a message and said, "You can absolutely return these. I do accept returns. Just go ahead and submit a return request on eBay." And I debated on whether I should message this in that initial message. If he selects item not as described, then that means I have to pay his shipping coming back to me. I have buyer pays returns, which means he's going to pay to return it back. If he selects item not as described, it's going to force me to send him a label, meaning I'm going to pay for it to come back. So I'm going to see what he does, but I'll ask you all first before I tell you what I'm thinking about doing. So if he selects item not as described and sends it back, would you deduct the shipping? Do you believe I'm at fault for not properly disclosing that these pants were different than the tag? Is what he said. He basically said there was nowhere in the description where you denoted that these were, I forget what he said, his exact words, but let me see. What did he say? Oh, mismarked. He said mismarked. He said, "You sold me mismarked jeans and you didn't say that in the description." Well, technically I didn't say they were mismarked, but I did give him the measurements of the jeans. So what would you do? Do you think he should have to pay to ship them back, or do you think I'm responsible? It's a real-time situation. And again, I'm waiting on him to respond, but so the thing that gets tricky with that is if a buyer returns something just because they didn't like it or they didn't like the fit or they changed their mind, then I get my eBay fees and my promoted fee back. And then he would also have to pay back shipping or pay to have them shipped back. If he selects item not as described, not only will I have to pay his shipping back to me, but I will also not get my fees back as a credit. So that would be like $7 or $8 because I sold these for 40 something. So I would be out $7 or $8 for shipping back to me, and I would also be out another $7 to $8 or $7 to $10 on those fees that I would not get back. So we're talking a total of like $15. Kimberly says, "I would totally make them pay for the label. I'd also include the description in the response to the buyer." Julie says, "Deduct shipping. He should pay. He didn't like the fit." Yeah, that's kind of where I was leaning at. I mean, I didn't incorrectly label them. I measured them. And unfortunately, this is one of those listings before I actually measured and showed the pictures of the measurements, but I did measure it and put it in the description. But now all my listings have pictures of the measurements. Josephine says, I would send him a message that I would accept the return and then deduct the return shipping from his refund. So how I'm going to handle people like this, or this is kind of my strategy going forward. This is a little more gray in this case, but if someone abuses the item not as described return policy. Because I'm a top rated seller, I can deduct up to 50% of the sale. Now, I'm not going to deduct 50%, but I'm going to deduct the shipping back, and I'm going to deduct the fees. So I'll go in and find out how much the fees were that I would typically be credited back, and then I would add that with the shipping and deduct that from his order. So Josephine brings up a good point. Maybe it'd be better for me to be proactive on this and send him a message and say, hey, if you do choose to, I guess I'm waiting to see how he's going to select the return, whether he's going to say didn't like or whatever, or whether he's going to say item not as described. And I'm thinking he's going to say item not as described. I almost put that in my message, but I was like, I don't want to assume that he's going to do this, even though it seems from his messaging that he's going to. So that's kind of my thought process on that. I love your response, Clay. Once you get them back, you can cut the legs off and sell them as Daisy Dukes for summer and sell them for 2 or 3 times as much. That's a great idea. Okay. Thanks for your feedback. That helps confirm what I was thinking. Sellers win. But in all seriousness, like if I realized I made a mistake, I would absolutely pay the shipping back and I would not take the fees from him. So this is where it's kind of gray because it's more of a, he says they don't fit like his jeans, but I'm like, well, I mean, are they a different style? Are they a different pair altogether? I mean, maybe they weren't the same like year made. Obviously they're a different pair, but you get the idea. Okay. My fastest sale from this weekend came on Friday. I listed it, and 2 days later, it sold for $30 going to Bend, Oregon. Love that place. Bend, Oregon, coming up. Where is it? Here it is. I love this brand right there, the FJ. You know what that is, FootJoy. If you don't get to know it, it's got some great stuff in this brand. I looked up the model on this and was able to get this like quarter zip sweater model name, and it's a chill out extreme thermal pullover. Thermal is key because obviously it's a little heavier weight. People want to know that for the winter, as opposed to just like pullover, where it could be a lighter weight, or you get the idea. So $30 on this used within 2 days of listing it. Clay says, are returns on eBay, Poshmark, etc. as bad or as often as Amazon? I don't think so. I've dabbled with Amazon. My return rate, I don't accept returns on Poshmark, so I don't get returns on Poshmark. On eBay, it sits at about 4%. That's where I hover. Amazon is just brutal because you pay to ship it there, you pay to ship it back, and you get more returns. So yeah, that's a good point. It's not as much as, say, Amazon is. Kimberly says, nice, I'm in Oregon. What part of Oregon are you in, Kimberly? Man, this one's expensive going to Oregon. $8.14. Typically don't get that high on a label for 2 pounds. But I'm not shipping it from Miami to Oregon, so that helps. We were actually just in Bend this past October. And it's beautiful. We loved it. And apologies if you've heard me say that like 1,000 times. We love Oregon. It's just too far away. Too far away from us. All right. Sold a few of these Untuckits. I actually got 4 there that I sold. This first one, going to Huntington Beach, California, was $25 best offer. I actually had 2 or 3 more shirts that were having offers on this weekend, and we just couldn't come to an agreement on the price. And I'm like, for a brand new shirt, I'm not going to go low. I'm already selling it low. Who knows? Maybe they'll come back. Chemo says I sell female clothing, but it also comes with a higher rate of return. Absolutely, 100%. And that's why I pretty much cut down on selling women's clothing. Back in the day, I used to shop both departments, men's and women's. And there's obviously a market for women's clothing. There are people who are really successful with it. I'm pretty much down to women's like outerwear, jackets, sweaters, and shoes. And then occasionally I'll pick up a pair of jeans. I'll like quickly scan the jeans section, look at labels, and then go. Northwest corner by Washington. Okay. Are you like close to the coast then? And then at some point in my reselling, like this was a long time ago, years ago, I just said, you know what? It just takes so long to learn women's clothing. You got to know keywords. There's different sizes, and exactly what Chemo said, you get more returns. So I cut it out pretty much. Next up, this other Untuck It shirt went for $29.90. But look, if I can find a pair of women's jeans on sale for half price, and I can get 25 to 25 and up on it, I'll pick it up as long as it's a faster moving brand, especially like women's jeans that are in style, the wide leg look right now. I'm not going to claim to be a women's expert on women's clothing, but I did see a post that was talking about how skinny jeans are coming back. And I'm like, is it too soon? Didn't we just have skinny jeans in? It was talking about like, I think there was like a fashion show where skinny jeans were featured. And I'm like, I know it like flip-flops back and forth between skinny and wide leg, but it seems like it's too soon. What do you all think? You know, we were like within the last couple of years, we were just out of skinny and people were like, don't buy skinny. I'm like, all right, maybe my skinny jeans that are sitting will eventually in 2 or 3 years sell again. All right, another Untuck It. We had a stretch of Untuck It's, which tends to happen when you sell one. Other buyers start to lock in on these. $23 on this. Going to California. Man, we are hitting up the West Coast today. Several California, several Oregon and California, all over. I had a lot of probably future Christmas gifts this weekend, just a lot of new with tag stuff. This going to Canada. Okay, I didn't see that one coming. Got to open up pirate ship for this one. Un momento. Okay, let's see here. $16 to Canada. Why do I feel like I'm going to get screwed on that one? Is that right? These are 2 pounds. I'm trying to figure out if my $16 rate is going to hold. Carolyn Dorfman, good morning. Is pirate cheaper to Canada? It's the only way that I ship out my international orders. So I'm not sure if it's. I think it's a little cheaper than eBay because I have a lot of people who end up buying through pirate ship for me, other than eBay. I hardly ever have an eBay international order, meaning eBay's international shipping. So we got some Nike Showdown or Showtime sweatpants. I had like 4 or 5 of these. I picked up for 15 each. They retail for 75. I've been selling them for 35 to 45. These sold for $35.99. We're about to find out if I lost money on shipping. So $35.99, and I collected $16 for shipping on a 2-pound item. Or at least if my memory serves me right, these are 2 pounds. Oh, 1 pound on the dot. So I may be okay. £1, not an ounce more. Let's see. And with Canada, I typically don't have like a VAT added on, so I just have to make sure of that. If you're just popping in, I am shipping out weekend orders. We're halfway through eBay. A relatively slow weekend here for me, but already 3 sales on the day, so we're picking back up. Okay, no VAT to add. That's good. So let's pop in and see how much we're going to pay for this. Sorry, I got one more thing I got to fill out here. It's kind of annoying. Kind of annoying. All right, $16 collected from the buyer, and we are going to pay. Going to Canada, drum roll, waiting on this. No, that can't be. Okay. It pops up UPS $29.85, and I'm like, what? I never ship out UPS international. I always do USPS. It's always the cheapest. $13.99. I like that rate. And I collect a little more to ship the item because I typically add on insurance for $1. So just to make sure if this gets lost that I'm covered. Carolyn says, so they have the option of eBay, international, or pirate? Sorry, just trying to understand. No, that's a good question. I appreciate that. So I don't know if it's 100% of the stores out there, but eBay typically adds in their shipping on every listing. I don't know. Again, I don't remember if it's something you have to like activate or if it automatically gets added in. I'm sure you could deactivate it if you don't want it. But eBay tends to be a little more expensive because they're adding in a bunch of fees. So I hardly ever get orders through eBay. So I have on every listing an eBay international option, and then I have a second international option that is kind of like my third party pirate ship option. So I have a rate table, and actually I'm going to have a video coming out on this. I've been talking about it for a while, and I'm finally going to get around to it. But I'm going to show you how I set up international rates and ship out internationally. So anytime you see me shipping out an international order, it's 98% of the time it's going to be through Pirate Ship, my second option on the listing, not eBay's first option, if that makes sense. And typically, if the buyer's looking at both options, eBay's and my third-party Pirate Ship, they're going to see all the fees, and they're obviously typically going to pick the one that's cheapest for them since it's already going to be a hefty shipment. All right, next up, Tommy Bahama Boracay men's chino khaki pants for $50 going to Texas. Finally, we got one close. in an effort to get my label, I closed it out. I can make that sound effect again if you'd like that. Okay. Next up, my biggest sale of the weekend. This polo Ralph Lauren cable knit sweater. Do you know how many low offers I've gotten on this thing? Everybody wants this for $50. And I'm like, look, I paid $48 for it. So I'm not selling it for $50. That was probably a mistake, but they finally sold. Actually, I may have gotten it for $39. So $39, $49. I don't think I paid $49 actually. I think I got it for $39. I picked up a couple of these. And it sold for $70. So finally, buyer made an offer, and I was like, "Thank you, get it out of like the low ball territory," because so many offers for 45 to 50 on this, and I'm just done with those crappy offers. I'm like, it's not wool, but it's a brand new heavy cotton sweater with like a cool cable knit pattern, and it retails for $148. And people be out there wanting it for $45, $50. Can't say I don't understand wanting a deal, but come on. You want it for 30% of retail? Get out of here. If you want it for that cheap, you're going to have to do your own thrifting. Because you're not getting it from me for $45. All right, another retail arbitrage. This men's diesel t-shirt. This really cool diesel print on the front. Picked up like 7 of these for $13 a piece. They've been selling in that $30 range, 30 to $39. This one took an offer for $30. And you may be thinking, you paid $13 to sell it for $30. What did you profit? Like 11 or 12? Yes, but it was one listing. And I'm okay with it. That's all I got to say. So let me look at the profit on this. Let's take a look at this one, especially. Amanda Gold. I love your last name. Thanks for popping in and saying hello and watching. So I picked it up for $13, sold it for $30 plus shipping. I made $9.01 because it sold promoted, so I had that fee. So I paid $13 to make $9. Would you have done that? It's a little less than I would have thought when I bought these, but I still have a few left. To each his own, right? Some people that's okay. Some people that's not okay. I'm definitely not as heavily invested in retail arbitrage as I once was. There were times when I was doing RA more than I was thrifting because I was just like in on it. And it's great because now I'm still making sales on those brand new items. But for a while, my credit card statement, my bank account was a little heavy on RA, and I was spending quite a bit of money every month. This was a new brand to me. I picked up at the Goodwill bins for a couple bucks. Let me know if you know this brand. It's called See and Be Seen. These are like women's textured cropped like wide leg pants. So obviously those are things that I put in the title, cropped wide leg, and then textured as well. But they've got like this really kind of funky like pattern you can see. And they sold for $28.47 on eBay. So I paid a couple bucks at the bins. It was a new find for me. I didn't know that brand. But if I remember right, there was an exact comp on these when I picked them up. And again, the brand is called See and Be Seen. Kind of a big name. Clay asks, how often do you promote with the new changes within eBay? And if you're not familiar with what Clay's talking about, eBay is now going to be, I think it's like January. It's like the first week of January, right? When they start that. eBay is going to be charging you a promoted fee if anyone clicks on your listing before you make a sale. So it doesn't have to be the buyer. If anyone clicks on it, you will be charged. So just imagine that all of your listings are going to have a promoted fee, is essentially what eBay's doing. Of course, they want to make their money and adding no extra value. They're just charging extra, which is kind of crap. But to answer your question, Clay, I'm not going to change my rate right now. I'm going to see how it plays out. I know there will be people who will lower their promoted rate to just help with the cost. Right now, if I had to guess, like I don't know the exact number, but if I had to guess how many of my items are selling promoted, right now I would guess, I'm looking at my spreadsheet here. $67% is what I'm calculating here. I would say 67% of my items are selling promoted. So it's already 3 out of 4 almost. So I'm not going to make any changes right now. I'm going to see how it plays out once that goes into effect. And then we'll go from there. But what do you all think? What are you going to do with your store? If you're promoting now, are you going to keep the same rate? Are you going to drop it? Or are you going to stop promoting altogether? What are you going to do? All right, I got a brand here that I love in this eBay sale. I love finding it. I think it's just such an underdog. People don't know this brand that much, and it seems to always find the right buyers. There are some people who are just brand loyal to this and one other brand very similar to it. But this one is Ex Officio. It's an outdoor brand right there on the tag. I would say the other brand that's comparable is Royal Robbins. Those two brands just seem to do well for me. This sold for $23.74 with this really cool like plaid pattern. Ex Officio is an outdoor brand, and so just think like vented long sleeve shirts, lightweight, moisture wicking. If it's pants, it's shirts. I mean, anytime I see it, if it's a pretty good size and a good pattern, I pick it up. Just time and time again. If I even search like, that's surprising. I have 7 items in my inventory right now from, no, that's not right. I just did a search for, looks like I have 2. It's pulling in some other brands that aren't in there. So I've got 2 items from this brand in inventory. And again, it's not a brand I find that often, but almost every time I see it, I pick it up as long as it's not like a men's small. Clay, absolutely. You're welcome. Flipping Ray of Sunshine. YouTube recommended this video. Thanks, YouTube. Appreciate that. Clicked because I'm no longer doing eBay and I'm curious how Poshmark works. It's getting hot in here. Sun's coming through the window. So curious how Poshmark works. So let me ask you this. Why'd you quit eBay? That would be a good starting point. Why are you no longer selling on eBay? What was the catalyst to you taking your items down there? And then I'll kind of explain how Poshmark works in comparison. Thanks for popping in, saying hello. I appreciate that. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. So I'll give you the financials of this sale in just a second once I get everything in and kind of explain why I love finding this brand. All right, so for those Ex Officio shirts, I'm typically paying $5-6 unless it's half price. So for this, I'm just going to assume that I paid $6. Sold it for $23.74. It didn't sell promoted, so that helps. A little more money back in the pocket. It gives me a profit of about 14 to 15 and change. So on an item that took 3 months to sell. So Ex Officio, always a good brand for me. Tammy says, I like that your office is so neat. Mine is a hot mess. I appreciate that. My office is pretty small, and so I have to be really organized with my space. So Flipping Ray of Sunshine says, I feel like I got more sales when I had less listing and it was difficult to navigate as a small side hustle. Yes. And eBay is one of the more complex platforms out there, no doubt. I mean, so your reasons are valid. And I understand that, especially if you're trying to learn it. There's so much eBay. The system is just kind of archaic. It's not simple. It's not easy to understand. I mean, the fees alone are just complicating. So Poshmark is good. They do take more in fees, but I would say to get back to your question, basically your selling fees are 20%. So if you sell a shirt for $20, it's 20% of that, $4. It's easy to understand. They don't deal with change. So everything rounds up. So you sell a shirt for 20, you're not going to have like a $20.57 sale. It just doesn't happen because the way the offers work there, you're inputting like by the round, the whole number. It's pretty simple to list. It's pretty easy to ship. They provide the label to you. So the buyer pays a set fee of like $6.94 or something like that. And that gets you a package up to 5 pounds. So the buyer pays Poshmark for that label, and then you just print it out. So you don't really actually collect the payment or pay the shipping on that. It just pretty much is handled through Poshmark. So if you think about shipping alone on eBay is such a complicated thing that a lot of sellers, and as I do videos, I get a lot of questions about shipping. People nervous that they're going to undercharge or not know how to do it, and rightfully so. Poshmark takes the guesswork out of that for you. You got 5 pounds, slap it in a box in a poly mailer, put the label on, you're good to go. I will say the difference with Poshmark compared to eBay is sharing. So sharing your closet, sharing your items, liking other people's things, sharing other people's things. There is a social aspect to it that factors into your listings getting sold. I don't do that manually, but I do pay to have that run in the background. So if you're going to do Poshmark, you really have to have some kind of service that's going to do the sharing aspect of Poshmark for you to make sales. And Nifty does that as well. I've been using Nifty for 3-4 years now. Even before they were a cross lister, I was using Nifty to do the sharing aspect in the background for me. So I hope that answers your question, Flipping Ray. Of course, if you have another follow-up question, feel free to put that in the chat and I'll get to it. A brand that I don't really like is this one, Flag and Anthem. This flannel shirt, you can see why it's sold. It's a very Christmassy holiday pattern. Got $17.82 on eBay. I have way too many Flag and Anthem items sitting in my store right now. I guess at some point I went through and I must have sold like a Flag and Anthem, and then I was like, pick them all up, and then I did, and now they haven't sold, so I've stopped picking them up. So kind of like interesting that the ex officio and this are back to back, because the first one I highly recommend, the second one I don't. I guess I could just be priced too high, and maybe I just need to get better at pricing these Flag and Anthems like under $20. As far as sharing, is this reasonable for a small side hustle without having to pay a third party? I don't think so. It's not something I'd want to add to my business model if I were doing it myself. But just to give you an idea, like Nifty, I think I was charged $25 a month. And if you think about it, I don't know how many listings you have, but if you sell one item, it pays for that service. So it may be something you want to check out if you're interested in getting on Poshmark, because unless you're just like the absolute lowest price, that social aspect is huge. Yeah, absolutely. Any questions you have, as long as I have an answer, I'll definitely help you out as best I can, giving you my honest feedback on that. Good morning, Mariah. Welcome, welcome. This one going to Georgetown, Texas. So my orders are going to either Texas or the West Coast, with the exception of this one. Came in this morning, another Untuck It, brand new, went for $28.47. It's a good price on that. $28.47. If you were with me in the beginning of this live, I mentioned that sometimes when you have a slow weekend, it's hard to get up on Monday and get motivated to list. And that was the case. I definitely was kind of, I wouldn't say down, but just kind of in my head a little bit. But now after doing this live, I'm feeling a boost of energy. So I appreciate you all jumping in here and hanging with me and asking great questions, commenting on your sales and milestones and things like that. It definitely helps. Kind of takes my mind off the business and allows me to connect with you all. What did I pay to ship that? I forgot to pop that in the spreadsheet. If you're looking for a reseller spreadsheet, look no further than the description of this video or on my bio, depending on where you're watching this. We got the 2026 reseller spreadsheet on sale. I say on sale, it's full price, but you can use spreadsheet 10 and get 10% off today. Cindy asks on Facebook, how many items do you list today? And that's a great question. My goal is to list 10 a day, every single day. So 300 something items a month. I haven't been doing that recently. And one of the main reasons why I'm slow this weekend in Q4. So I kind of knew when I'm not listing, or I kind of know when I'm not listing, my sales are going to be slower. And that's kind of with the territory. I've been working on other things too. So there's a reason why I'm not listing. I'm not just like, not that you care, but I'm not just like sitting in the background watching shows or anything. I'm just busy doing other things and managing like the content, the spreadsheet, and reselling takes attention and divides it. So I've been doing like 5 a day for the last week. And this week I really want to start hitting 10 a day. So I draft them up and just push through 10 every day. Let me ask you all watching who can comment, how many do you list a day? What's your goal? What is your goal? I'm going to enter this last sale that just came in on this Alaskan hardware. So while I was live, buyer accepted an offer. We've been going back and forth on an Alaskan hardware sweater, like a heavy sweater, pullover. I remember exactly where I was when I got it back in September. I picked up this and another. The other is already sold. And if you don't know, Alaskan Hardware is a brand by Duluth. So if you go into any like Duluth trading store, which is another outdoor brand, you're going to find their Alaskan Hardware gear at somewhere in the store. Tammy says, my goal is 5 a day is part-time. That's good. That's a good goal to have, especially, you know, as a part-time reseller. That's a healthy goal. Of course, everyone's different depending on how much time you have and if you work or don't work or full-time, part-time. Cindy says 5 a day. I started using Nifty and I'm loving the AI feature. It's so easy now. Yeah, I don't use it, but I have in the past just to see what it was like. It really is super easy because you can take some pictures, put it in, and then Nifty will generate a title, description, and then once you list it, it's on all your platforms. You don't have to cross-list it. Nifty does it for you. Rye says, I've been ending my items listed for 6 months and selling similar. This gives me fresh listings in addition to the 5+ new listings I'm listing every day. Yeah, honestly, I used to do that as well. I would just keep track on my spreadsheet of where I left off, and I would go through and end and sell similar like 10 a day, 20 a day. And then once I started using Nifty, Nifty does that for me. So that's another thing that gets automated with Nifty. Excuse me. A lot of throat clearing on this live today. So I will say, um, you're hearing me talk about Nifty. If you do want to try out Nifty, you can use it for the social aspect on Poshmark. You can use it as like an all-encompassing like AI listing tool across Lister. Um, there's so much you can use Nifty for. A lot of different resources and tools that Nifty has. If you do want to use it, I've got a free trial that you can use linked on my bio, wherever you're watching, or in this video, in the description down below on YouTube. So you can click the link. You'll get a full week to try out Nifty. See for yourself if you like it before you have to commit to a monthly subscription. And then with that link, if you do choose to purchase a monthly subscription, you'll get 15% off your first month. So if you're interested, give it a shot, see what you think. And of course, if you don't like it, no skin off my back. That's totally up to you. If you're looking for the reseller spreadsheet, I've got that linked below as well. Again, use spreadsheet 10 to get 10% off. That spreadsheet 10, not TEN. So spreadsheet 10 will get you 10% off your full order. So whether you're buying this 2025 last year's spreadsheet or the new one 2026 or both, that gets you 10% off your order. If you go ahead and like this, that would be great. Like this live on Facebook and YouTube. That will help others find me. I'm going live every Monday. And of course, subscribe and follow if you haven't. But I'm going live every Monday around this time, sharing my orders for you. And hopefully this next week, next Monday, I'll have more than 15 orders. We'll hope. That's the hope. Just had an offer come in on eBay. Not a bad offer. Pair of shoes I got back here. I have them listed at 61.72. Buyer made an offer of 52. Probably accept that. I think this was one of those, again, another retail arbitrage where I bought it and probably should not have bought it. I paid 39 for these shoes, so my margin is going to be very small. But at this point, it's like, just get your money back. So I'm going to accept this $52 offer on these shoes, and I'll show you right here. Adidas Stan Smith. They're like a pink color, men's size 9. They're called the Wonka Wantao Pink. Wonka Wantao Pink. That's a mouthful. Tammy says, when is the tax professional coming? Thank you, Tammy. I mentioned it at the beginning, but of course, a lot of you weren't on at the beginning. And I'm glad you reminded me of that. Carol Ann is going to be joining me on my YouTube channel this Thursday night at 7:30 Eastern. If you don't know Carol Ann, she's a tax professional. She works with resellers all the time. She's constantly taking in new resellers in the community. She knows that world really well, and she's able to give you tax advice on your reselling numbers. So you can go to my YouTube channel right now and you can find that event for Thursday right there at the top of the channel, and you can go ahead and click notify me. And when we go live, you will receive a notification that says, hey, we're live. Come in and say hello if you want to. I've gotten a lot of interest on this. I feel like there's going to be a lot of people in there. And of course, the more, the better. We get some really good questions for Carol Ann to help keep this discussion lively, relevant, and of course, more than anything else, things that you want to know about. Carolyn says we've got a Carolyn in the live here, someone different. She says she does out of state, and yes, she will. So she's based in Florida, like I think the Tampa region, but she will work with out of state resellers too, which is great. So go to YouTube, click notify me. I don't know how, it doesn't show me how many people have clicked it, but I've had a lot of subs come in. So that tells me that people are finding it and clicking it. It's going to be a fun conversation. I can't wait. Carol Ann is great. She's friendly. She's positive and upbeat. But more than that, especially with something that is confusing, if you think like taxes, especially, but if you think of things like when your car needs to be fixed, places where you may not have information that can be, or knowledge that can be confusing, you want to make sure you find someone who will teach you and coach you and not just tell you what you need to do, but help you make those informed decisions. And she does that. She's great. Chastity says, looking forward to it. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, there are always really interesting scenarios because everyone's in a different place with their financials and their taxes and their goals. And so I imagine there's going to be a lot of really good questions on Thursday night. So Thursday, 7:30, I'll send out another notification on Wednesday on Facebook, letting everyone know as a reminder. But go and save that on YouTube if you want to get that reminder. Okay, I think that's all I got for you guys. This has been great. A lot of great conversation today. I appreciate all the questions. Um, yeah. So before I see you next Monday, hopefully I'll see you on Thursday with Carol Ann. You all have a great week, and I hope your sales stay popping and that you're able to enjoy this holiday season before it's gone because it's going to go fast. So we'll catch you all this Thursday. We'll see you.